Today's episode of Blind Buy-In is A Day of Judgment. Um, Funny thing about this movie, um, before watching it today, I remember, like, over a decade ago at this point, I had a show that aired on American Horrors at filmon.com, which they have now gone to Roku, Roku. I am still confused how to pronounce that, but they play some good stuff, man. Go check it out if you got a Roku, check it out. And they also have the Classics channel, which sadly, hard. I'm going to call you out, is not working. I've had that I've had that device for at least 3 weeks now, and it's not working. So I don't know what you got to do, but let's get it together. But I remember I would give them movies. The script I just worked on for top 13 non-franchise slashers. I mentioned when I was talking about, I'm not going to tell you the number, but Edge of the Axe is on there, and I gave him a copy of that. This was a movie I was going to give him a copy of, but at the time, I didn't have a VHS of it. And before this release, I believe it's only been released on VHS. Because it never hit theatrical or anything like that. So it didn't have a presence like in the theater. But I remember I thought this would be an interesting one. A slasher movie that's based on, Bible Belt, like grim horror. But the version that I had was so bad. Like, I remember watching it not knowing what was going on. And I didn't understand who these characters were. Like, none of that. It was just such a bad rip that I got that I never ended up sending it to him. And until this day, I've seen this movie over 10 years ago. But I never knew what was going on until now. So, the movie is about a small town. I know it was filmed in North Carolina. So, safe to say, it's a North Carolina town. And at the very beginning, you realize that their priest, or pastor, let's say pastor, he ends up leaving town because of all the sin that's going on. After that, it's kind of shot like vignettes of like certain characters. Like you get a glimpse of little bits of characters, but then you finally see their story unfold. Like there's one about a guy that wants to do big things with his lady friend. So he commits his elderly parents into a home. There's these two people that are committing adultery and end up killing the wife's husband. There's this greedy bank owner or loan shark or whatever you would call him, because this is set like back in the early 1900s. Whatever you would call him, that doesn't give people chances and he dies. And there's a lot going on in this movie, but at the same time, not a lot of action. It's a very character-driven narrative. And as a slasher, I don't think it works. I think as a cautionary, like, horror film, I think it works way better. But it was presented to me, and this was the original box art right here. That was the original box art. I do remember that. It's almost kind of presented as a slasher, and I was trying to look for trailers of this movie, and the only one that I could find on YouTube is the Severin release from the Severin's YouTube channel. So there's not really much about it, and even the features, I watched them. One is with an author, or with the author of Nightmare USA, and the other one is with a filmmaker, and it's just um, I don't I didn't really get a lot of insight into the film, but also um, there's not much to the movie. There's a couple people of note which they mentioned, but I just like William T. Hicks is in this movie, and he's from Death Screams, which I own Death Screams. I remember that one. Jerry Rushing, who was in Final Exam, and it's just I'm glad that it did get a release, but it was very different from what I was expecting. I was expecting more of like a by the numbers kind of early 80s slasher movie that got lost to time. That's kind of what I was expecting, and that's what I was kind of sold on, if I remember correctly, back like over a decade ago. And now that I can actually watch the movie and see what's going on, I can say it's really not that. It's a vignette. Oh, and also another person that dies is this woman that poisons these kids' goat for eating her flowers. And she makes up shit all the time. And the law is just tired of her. But this is more... I'm trying to think what to compare it to. But it's just a bunch... It's like vignettes of like shitty people that get their comeuppance. And at the very end, you see that they see heaven. They see the Golden Gates. They see all this. But then the killer in the movie is a Grim Reaper-esque character who carries a sickle. There's one decapitation by him, but the rest is kind of off-screened to death. And it's it's kind of a hard one to talk about because overall, I didn't think it was a bad movie. I wasn't bored. I was entertained enough. It just wasn't. I guess like the expectations going in, it was not what I expected. Kind of going in, I thought it was going to be one of these things where like, yeah, kind of the townspeople and the people around town are like shitty people. So I thought like maybe an Amish person would take vengeance upon them based on his belief of the word of God or something like that. Like something more along that line. Again, more slasher-esque. But I didn't get that. I got more of a morality tale, which tells me don't be a dick. Which, again, is not a bad thing. It's just completely different from what I expected. I don't mind having this in my collection. I really don't. Not many things I own I despise. I think the only thing I do is... Oh my god, what was that movie? It has a star in it. I'm not gonna even sit time on that. I don't remember, but if you're curious, this is free on YouTube. Like I got more when I searched or like when I looked up a Day of Judgment trailer, I got more of the fact that it's free on YouTube. So if you're curious, check it out. I mean, it's a cool movie. It's well acted. You're just following a lot of shitheads, and they do get their comeuppance, but there's not really much to it. And again, if you're expecting a slasher movie, you're shit out of luck. That's not what you're gonna get. So overall, I think it's a good movie. It's not the slasher that I thought I was gonna get, but that doesn't mean that it's gonna be bad. So again, if you want to watch it, it's free on YouTube. Multiple different links. So hopefully you have a better time of finding a rip that actually looks good and not one that you can't even see what's in front of your face. That's all for this blind buying. Again, I'd say it's worth a watch. It's fun. It's interesting, well acted. There's not much to talk about effects wise because really the only effect in the movie is like a guy gets decapitated. But that's about it. So until next time, guys. See ya.